Luke, let's talk about the Pixel phones.
Yeah.
So we're doing some of these buyer's guides
Yeah.
to help people understand the different phones, different models, what might be available at the given time.
From specific brands. So we talked about Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going to talk about the Pixel phones.
Yeah. So right now, there are three models that are officially available.
Mm-hmm.
The Pixel 6,
Yep.
6 Pro, and then there's also the 5A with 5G.
Yes.
There can be some confusion between them.
Yeah.
The A series, I think, sometimes confuses people when the 6A, for instance, is rumored to come out here in the next few months.
Sure.
So there will be some confusion as to what's the difference between the 6 and a 6A.
Sure.
So to kind of clear things up now, we'll talk about the three different models, and we won't dive into too deep specifications. But these are genuinely questions that we get.
Yeah.
You know, friends, family, people will email us. What are the differences, or what is this? You know, is it worth the money to go from here to here? And I'm of the opinion that the A is probably the best bang for your buck.
Sure.
And getting, the most phone for what a lot of people need.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to kind of convince me to spend a little bit more money to get the flagship series.
Okay.
That's based off of my needs.
Sure.
But there is something to be said about what you get with the high-end models.
Yeah.
As well. So I'm actually using a 6. You're using a 6 Pro.
I am.
And I've spent a lot of time with the A series. That was my daily driver, my bread and butter phone.
Yeah.
The 3A, 4A, 5A. So let's just kind of do a 30,000 foot view look at these. So let's start at the top with the 6 Pro.
Sure.
And the 6 kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these were released in the fall 2021.
Yep.
And one of the biggest things with these was that they came out with the Tensor chip.
Right.
Which is Google's proprietary first series of phones to have its own chip in there.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot of AI smarts to the table. Notably in the camera aspect.
Yeah.
So what kind of things do you get with that Tensor chip or the AI smarts in the camera?
So camera is going to give you, obviously improved kind of night sight, which, they were already kind of higher end of that pack up until then. But what this Tensor chip really let them do is a lot of post work kind of automatically in the phone. So you have things like automatically, or you could choose to remove subjects in a shot. Let's say you were doing a picture of a friend at a travel site, major landmark, and you have somebody in the background taking a picture. Well, you can just tap on that person, and with the processing capability of that Tensor chip, you can just remove them.
Yeah.
You can do things like in-camera motion blur.
Yeah.
Where you've seen those shots of like a train speeding by and somebody's standing right by it, and you got the cool light trails and stuff.
Right.
You can do things like that in there. Yeah. And it's all stuff that was available through like Photoshop and different things you can do that. But because this phone is able to process so much better than previous models, it's able to kind of make it easy for a consumer and do it right in the phone.
Yeah. There's a handful of modes that come with the 6 and the Pro that you don't get in the 5A.
Right.
And as you touched on, that's Magic Eraser, Motion Mode. These are also much better at finding the real tone of skin.
Yes.
And you've seen some commercials for this where everybody's skin tone is completely different. If you get a picture with light behind you, light under you, all these things change the way your image looks. And it doesn't give you a great or perfect representation of what you look like.
Right.
So Real Tone is one of those. Face on Blur, it uses AI to kind of look at your picture and if your kids are jumping up on the bed or running through the room, take a photo of a candid moment, it can intuit and kind of fix some of these images to clean up that face.
Yeah, and practically speaking, what it's doing is grabbing a couple of kind of trash images before or after the shot that you pick to take, and it's saying, all right, you know what, right here a millisecond before the face was clearer, we're gonna put it in there just so you have the best picture possible. And a lot of this stuff is aimed at, it just does it so you don't have to think about doing it.
And that's what Pixel does really well, is that you just open up the camera app, use it, take your pictures, and you get great results.
Right.
Time and again, it's the benchmark for a lot of people of what's the easiest and best camera experience on a phone.
Yeah.
So that's some of the tech that comes with the Tensor chip. At the top of the heap, also, you're looking at big screens.
Yeah.
6.7 on the Pro at 120 hertz refresh rate, where the 6 has a 6.4 inch at a 90 hertz. Now, what's refresh rate do for?
So refresh rate is just the screen refreshes at a higher rate so that it looks smoother to your eye. So it's flashing, essentially. If you've ever seen, a video where you've taken a video with your phone and you're on and you see a computer screen and it's like flashing or something like that, it's because of the flickering, is the refresh rates are different. Well, your phone is always refreshing the screen, and it does it faster so that everything looks smoother as you're scrolling or looking at things. It just is a better experience and less fatigue on your eyes because it's not having to process those images as hard because they're being changed more frequently.
Yep. So even things like scrolling through an email can look better if it's got a higher refresh rate. So at the Pro, that's the 120 hertz. The 6 has a 90. When you get down to the 5A, it doesn't have a listed refresh rate. So you're looking at like a 60 hertz, or just something that's not remarkable enough to kind of tout as a spec.
And refresh rates on phones is a relatively kind of new selling point. The 5A is still good.
Yeah.
It's not a thing where it's going to fatigue your eyes. Like it's not a detriment to it.
We've done how many years without it?
Right.
So now it's
once you
bonus.
have a phone that has a higher refresh rate, you can start to notice that difference if you go back to a phone that doesn't. But generally, those are features that are like the last 2% kind of things.
Yeah.
They're not really things that are, you need to have.
Right. Another one that is also kind of on the forefront of technology that you don't necessarily need to have, and for years we didn't have, is the ability to share the battery.
Yeah.
Phones have gotten faster, the bigger battery capacities, charging speeds have gotten faster.
Sure.
So now you're looking at fast charge, quick charge, and then you start to throw in wireless charge capability.
Right.
On the 5A, you have fast charge, but you don't have wireless charge.
Right.
When you move into the 6 or the flagship series, you do pick up that wireless charging and the power share or the reverse charging capability.
Right. So if you were walking around with your Pixel Buds, you can charge that case and, get a little bit more battery life out of your earbuds by just using your phone battery.
Right. Then you also have things like, how much memory, how much storage.
Sure.
That matters to a lot of people. On the low end or at the 5A today, you're looking at 6 gigabytes of RAM, which is still...
That's a decent.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
With 128 gigabytes of storage. And then when you move into the 6, you start at 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Yep.
And then you also have the option for additional storage.
Sure.
128, 256. When you move up to the Pro, now you're starting with 12 gigabytes of RAM.
Right.
And you have up to 512 gigabytes of storage. So if you're trying to future-proof yourself, that's one of the things that extra storage, extra memory, processors, those are the things that you're kind of maybe not necessarily tapping into today, but you're kind of buying for tomorrow.
Sure.
These do not have the micro SD cards that you used to have for expandable storage. So you could back things up in the cloud which is a great thing for Google Photos
Mm-hmm.
to have, because that's what a lot of people, when it comes to chewing up space, photos and videos will do that.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at the 5A, you're looking about $450. For $150 more, you're going to get into a little bit better refresh rate, wireless charging capability, more AI smarts,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more in the RAM, a little bit more in the storage. So you do definitely get a little bit more for your money.
Sure.
And then to move all the way up to the top at the $900 price point, you get into the 6 Pro.
Right.
So that's kind of a overview. It's not every spec, not every benchmark or anything like that, but it should be enough to kind of make heads or tails out of the 5A with 5G, the 6 and the 6 Pro as of today.
Yep. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast.
Thanks for listening.
We appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, feedback, concerns, comments, anything, shoot us an email at podcast@AndroidGuys.com. We'd love to hear from you one way or the other. Luke, if someone wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
I am on Instagram and Twitter at Luke Gaul, Gaul.
And I'm on Instagram at Scott Webster and Twitter as SWebster77. Until next time, thanks for listening.
See ya.